John Cena didn't just carry WWE, he was WWE. When names like The Rock, Stone Cold, and Batista faded from the scene, Cena stayed. When WWE shifted to PG, when merchandise needed a face, when kids needed a hero, Cena showed up, night after night, year after year. He was never the internet darling. He wasn't always the fan favorite, but behind the scenes, Cena was the foundation, the corporate face, the one Vince could always call when ratings dipped or when a stadium needed to be filled. Cena gave WWE everything. He wrestled injured. He cut corny promos just because they asked. He let himself be booed in front of 70,000 people and still played the good guy. He flew from film sets back to WWE just to pop the crowd for 5 minutes. He even changed how he wrestled so younger stars could look good. If you're new here and you're tired of the sugar-coated WWE narratives, hit like, smash subscribe, and stick with us. We say what they won't. But somehow, after 2 decades of loyalty, the same company just flipped the switch. They turned him heel, not with a slow burn, not with emotional build, but with a shocking, cold corporate decision. And they did it during his final run. At Elimination Chamber 2025, Cena teamed up with The Rock and Travis Scott, 3 icons from different worlds. It should have been a legacy-defining moment. Instead, WWE had him hit a low blow on Cody Rhodes. The crowd gasped, not because Cena turned, but because it felt fake. It felt like the company didn't even respect his legacy enough to protect it on the way out. This wasn't a heel turn built on betrayal or story. It was a forced narrative, done for shock value, done to sell a moment. And it broke something. They took the guy who built their house and made him the villain in his retirement chapter. For years, fans begged for a heel Cena. WWE refused. They said he was the hero, the role model, the never-give-up poster boy. But when Cena finally started his goodbye, when he finally had one last run in front of the fans who watched him grow, that's when they turned him. Not in 2012, not in 2017, in 2025, when he had nothing left to prove. And they didn't even do it to elevate someone. There was no rising star getting the rub. No major payoff planned. Just Cena standing over Cody Rhodes, arms raised, playing a character that fans had moved on from years ago. They used Cena's real loyalty, his real passion for the business, as a prop. Then threw him into a fake storyline that doesn't reflect anything he's built. And let's talk about that loyalty. Cena was the guy who stayed when everyone left, when Punk walked, when Bryan got injured, when Orton disappeared. Cena kept showing up. He wasn't chasing Hollywood. He wasn't ducking fans. He worked every Christmas, every Saudi show, every last-minute rewrite. He was the go-to guy when everyone else said no. And WWE knew this. They exploited it. They ran his body into the ground, overbooked him for years. And now, at the end, they gave him a retirement tour laced with humiliation. They booked him into nothing matches, fed him to random names, made him cut promos that didn't sound like him anymore. Then added the final insult, a heel turn that made no emotional sense. And what WWE did to Cena isn't just disrespect. It's personal. It's the company telling its most loyal soldier, "You're not the hero anymore. You're just another name to use one last time." They turned him into a bitter caricature of himself. In press conferences, Cena played along, saying it was exciting and fresh, but you could see it. In his face, in his walk to the ring. This wasn't the Cena who led locker rooms. This wasn't the Cena who gave pep talks backstage to NXT guys. This was a man being forced to act out the final chapter of someone else's story. And fans? The same fans who once booed him out of arenas? They weren't happy. They weren't cheering the heel turn. They were confused, hurt. Because no matter how you felt about John Cena over the years, hate him, love him, meme him, he earned this farewell. He earned a proper goodbye. Not a villain arc, not a betrayal twist. And think about the timing. Cena's heel turn came just months after he said 2025 would be his final year. That meant WWE waited until he had limited dates left. Until there was no time to course correct, no long story to tell. They didn't build toward it. They just pulled the trigger and walked away. Like it didn't matter. Like his history meant nothing. Cena's done everything for WWE. He's protected it in interviews, defended it when people attacked the product, stayed quiet during scandals. And this is how they repay him. Not with a championship tribute, not with a moment like The Undertaker got, but with forced boos, lazy storylines, and no payoff. There's no closure here, just disrespect, just erasure. And when it's all over, when Cena walks away after his last match later this year, there won't be a standing ovation. There won't be a crowd in tears. There will just be silence. Because WWE rewrote the final chapter of John Cena's story, and they made him the villain. They betrayed the one guy who never betrayed them. They used his image to sell millions, pushed him through eras no one else could carry, and when it came time to say thank you, they gave him a script and said, "Boo the crowd now." They could have let him ride off into the sunset. Instead, they forced him to crawl. And whether fans realize it now or not, they'll look back at this heel run and feel the same sting. Not because Cena played a bad guy, but because he didn't get to play himself one last time. The betrayal runs deeper than one storyline. You have to understand, John Cena wasn't just another top guy, he was the cleanup crew. When Roman couldn't connect, when crowd reactions went sideways, when injuries decimated the roster, they called Cena. When they needed to patch up a feud, get media coverage, or pop a rating, Cena. They used him to keep the company above water during some of its ugliest years. And yet, when it was finally time to give him his moment, they treated him like a transitional piece. This wasn't just mishandled, it was surgical disrespect. They gave Edge a moment. They gave Batista a proper send-off. Triple H got tributes. Taker got full-on global reverence. Cena, they threw him into recycled promos with The Rock and told him to act bitter. The guy who sold more merch than anyone since Hogan. The guy who made Make-A-Wish visits a norm in WWE culture. The guy who never went off script even when the fans turned their backs. That's who they reduced to a tool in someone else's storyline. And the locker room knows it too. You can feel the awkwardness. Nobody wants to say it out loud, but the resentment is there. Cena isn't just finishing a run. He's being phased out like expired branding. Not with honor, with manipulation. They're rewriting his history while he's still active, trying to twist it into something darker, making it look like he's turning his back on fans, when the truth is, he's the one being abandoned. Go watch that segment again from Elimination Chamber. Look past the cameras. You'll see the hesitation in his eyes. The second before he low blows Cody, there's no heat, no intensity, just silence. That wasn't acting. That was real-time disconnection. Cena knew it. The crowd knew it. WWE didn't care. Because at the end of the day, this isn't about storytelling. This is about WWE having no room for loyalty anymore. No room for legacy. No room for the guy who protected their image when everything else was crumbling. And they've used his respect, hustle, loyalty motto as the punchline of this heel turn. They're mocking the very values he stood for. They put it on shirts, then booked him to spit on those same words in promos. And what does that say? It says even the purest personas in WWE get flipped for a few shock pops and Twitter buzz. It says even the guy who never left, never complained, never gave them a problem, he's disposable too. Cena should have had that farewell match with weight. Legacy versus legacy. Something real. Something final. Not a hollow heel version of himself. But WWE chose views over value, buzz over loyalty, and now they're milking his final year for cheap heat. They're not just turning him heel, they're turning his entire legacy into a gimmick. The same crowd that used to chant Cena sucks now looks at this version of him and doesn't even know how to react. Because it doesn't feel like Cena. It feels like management in a suit decided to rewrite 20 years of history with one segment. No context, no explanation. Just a corporate script shoved into the hands of the most loyal performer they've ever had. And the saddest part? Cena's still playing along. He's still showing up, still cutting those promos, still doing what he's told, because loyalty's in his DNA. But this time, it's not loyalty, it's pain. This isn't a retirement, it's a slow erasure, and WWE's fine with that. They don't want Cena the icon anymore. They want Cena the puppet. And when this is all over, when that last date hits, there won't be any justice. No fireworks, No grand goodbye, because WWE already said goodbye. Quietly, behind the scenes. The moment they chose to use his farewell tour as a cash grab was the moment they closed the door on everything he gave. If you respect what Cena built, remember this moment, because WWE won't.